In this tutorial, we are going to create a first-person character controller from absolute scratch. So we won't just be going up to our standard assets and dropping and dragging a first-person character in. We'll be creating it from absolute scratch. This will give you more understanding on first-person character controllers, and also give you more understanding of C# as well, and being able to add things like double jump, triple jump, run fast, or whatever into your own custom script for your FPS controller. Okay, so what we're going to do first is, to support our FPS controller, we're going to create a capsule. So game object, 3D object, and capsule. There we go. Brilliant. If you can't see that capsule, let's drag. Oh, there we go. Why is he a million miles away? Let's just zero him out. There we go. So I'm just going to bring him up there. Fantastic. So we're going to use this Capsule Collider as the basis of our FPS character. So first things first, we are going to add a character controller to our Capsule Collider. Okay, so we're going to also create our gravity and our collisions essentially from scratch using C# code. So we don't need to worry about adding a rigid body, and we also don't need to worry about our Capsule Collider. We can just remove that component, and as you can see, there's already a collider already on our capsule because it is within the character controller. So we'll definitely have to call that up within our script. And the last thing we're going to do is just make sure this capsule is named player. Awesome. So let's create a script very quickly, and we'll just call this player movement. Make sure we spell it correctly. There we go. And just for ease of time, we can quickly drag that script into our capsule and double click and open our player movement in Visual Studio. Once Visual Studio is open, we can create some variables for our player movement. And the first thing we're going to do is create a private variable for our character controller. So we're going to call our character controller up. There we go. And we can just call this, let's just say underscore controller, so we know where we're going. Lovely. In start, yep, let's call it. We need to put it in start as well. So our controller, there we go, will equals get dot, not get type, get component, and that will be our character controller. Lovely. So the first thing we do is call up our character controller within our script, because we're going to take control of that and add our gravity and movement to that. Then what we're going to do is we're going to look at our script in update, and that should be fairly simple. So it should be a vector free. So this just be like creating a character in the simple movement character controller like we've done before. We're going to call our vector free direction, which is going to equals a new vector free, because we're going to change the movement, change the position. But obviously we're going to do input dot get axis and call up our horizontal inputs from Unity. And we can have no movement on the Y. So our X will move with horizontal, and our Z will move with our input dot get axes again, and this time it will be vertical for our Z. There we go, that should be working all fine. And just as icing on the cake, I'm just going to say a controller dot move is equal to our direction. Cool, lovely. So what we've got here is our vector 3 direction is going to equal a new vector 3, so a new position. And our new position on the X will be our input.getAxis horizontal. There's going to be nothing on our Y-axis because we can create a jump or something like that later. And our input.getAxis vertical, so moving forward and backwards for our Z-axis. Okay, and then under here we're just saying our controller.move in the way of direction. Okay, so we're going to move in front with this. Cool, fantastic. Let's command save that. We'll have a test of our scene. And what we should find is that just like with our simple movement, we can move, as you can see, we can move very, very quickly. So our movement is there, which is fantastic, but unfortunately, we're moving at 60 frames per second. So we're moving really, really quick. So we don't really have control of our controller at all, which is not good. So we need to add time.delta time in there, just like with simple movement, as we've done before on previous tutorials. So what we're going to do is add under or in direction is just go times by time dot delta time. That should be fine. And if we save that, we would have managed to slow down our time, but this time we're very slow. Okay. So what we need to do with this is to get our speed, is add a speed variable within our script. So under character controller, we are going to add our private float, which will be speed, and that can be equal to let's just say 5f for now, just to make things a little bit easier. What I'm going to do is serialize this field so we can see it within Unity in our hierarchy, or in inspector, sorry. So now we've created that variable, we need to put our variable within our script here. So the best place it's probably going to fit is, actually we could even just put it under here. So we can say vector 3, so we velocity, so we can call our speed our velocity. Velocity is going to equals underscore speed. Oh no, sorry. Velocity equals direction, which will then be times by underscore speed, and that should sort that out. Okay. So if we press play, so it's still moving quite slowly. So what I think that will be is, if you look at our script, vector 3 direction. Okay, so we need to put velocity in our character.move. So character.move, instead of direction, that will now be velocity. There we go. Command save that. Press play. There we go. A lot more smooth movement for our first person character. right there, so we can go move forward and back and left and right. Lovely, good, fantastic. Okay, so we're going to end this part of the tutorial just with adding our gravity, and then I'll create a part 2 tutorial where we will look at looking X and looking on our Y axes. Okay, so before we do that, let's go and add a gravity variable. So what I'm going to do is, again, let's create this as a serialized field so we can change it within our inspector. And we are going to change and call our variable, let's call it just a private float again, because that seemed to work before, underscore gravity. And that will equal, we can go a bit nerdy with this, 9.81. So that's the force of gravity, the actual force on a human on Earth. That's the exact number that will affect our capsule within Unity, and just be like the gravity on Earth. So let's put our gravity into our script, or into our update. So we could probably fit that just under velocity, really. So if we stick that there, so let's say velocity dot y, because we're talking about our y-axis, is minus equals to underscore gravity. Right. That looks all good. Let's Command S that, and let's see if I put my player. Move my player up a little bit. Press play. Gravity should take hold. There we go. And I can also move as well. Okay, so that's part 1 of this tutorial done. Join us for part 2, where we're going to look at creating an X look. So looking on our X axis and looking on our Y axis, and making sure and finishing off our FPS controller from scratch. Cool. Thank you very much. See you soon.